Do you miss the golden era of professional wrestling? Wrestling fans, it's time to bring those memories back to life. To take you back to the legendary arenas, the chair shots, the foreign objects, good versus evil, all the heroes you loved, and the villains you love to hate, and the blood. Guiding us on this journey through professional wrestling history, IBW Hall of Famers Supermouth Dave Drayson and Terry Sullivan. International Big Time Wrestling and RoX-TV proudly presents Big Time Memories.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Big Time Memories. I'm Terry Sullivan, this is Dave Drayson, and today we have a real special look into the life, the wrestling life of Dave Drayson. Supermouth, the photographer extraordinaire. And you know, you go back to the time that you were a youngster, pre-teen, coming to the matches at Cobo Arena, and something I never did, you took a lot of pictures, had a lot of pictures of yourself taken with the wrestlers. And through the years, you've gone to St. Louis and you've gone to LA and the Carolinas, and you always take pictures, and a lot of those pictures have stories behind them.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was very fortunate to meet some of the greats in the wrestling business and get to talk to them, get to know them. They became friends, and I have photographs, you know, proof that, you know, of all my friends that I've met.
So let's take a look. Let's start, shall we? There we go.
Oh, God.
You get any sun in the summertime, Dave?
The very first one, my good friend Ernie Roth, Abdullah Farouk, or other people would know him as the Grand Wizard.
Right,
He was such a good friend, you know, to me, you know, taking care of a 12, 13-year-old kid at the time, you know, was a good friend. You know, what can I say about Ernie? You know, one of the best.
12 or 13-year-old who was taller than he.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, good older. Oh, there's your favorite tag team combination of all time.
And this would have been, I think, the first time I met you, but this would have been back in 1967 at the fan convention that Don Porter put on at the Statler Hilton Hotel in downtown Detroit. And it's the first time that I met Ronnie and Paul Dupree, the Hells Angels.
There you go, the World Tag. Oh, there we go.
My first visit to St. Louis.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and Don Wilson and, you know, so many other friends that I had there, Diane Devine and Weta Bainham, Lillian Schnurr, you know, we were, you know, all, you know, because they were from St. Louis and they knew a lot of the guys. And after the TV tapings at KPLR, you know, that was the first time that I got to meet Bobby Heenan and Blackjack Lanza, and Bobby Heenan became a mentor and a lifelong friend up until the time he passed.
Yeah, great photo. Oh, my God.
Well, this is me in my bedroom at my home on the east side of Detroit.
With a typewriter on your bed, typing up the results.
That is the exact typewriter that I wrote all my body press stories with.
Oh, wow.
And I had to take a photograph with my favorite wrestler, the Sheik. And the mask, that was the mask that I wore also my very first managing gig, you know, with Ben Justice in Pontiac, Michigan, as the Scholar.
Yeah. Nice to see that you gained a little weight when you got older. Huh? That guy, who's this guy now?
This is Big Luke Brown. This picture
the Kentuckians?
Right.
With Grizzly Smith.
Yes.
Jake Roberts' father.
This would have been the very first WFIA convention in Mankato, Minnesota. And, you know, as a wrestling fan then, you wore a suit, you know, as respect to these guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I met Luke Brown in the dressing room, and he let me put an arm lock on him.
Yeah, how about that? Now, who's this guy?
As I mentioned before, this would have been Joe Brunetti, or his real name, Joe Tangaro. And this was my first visit to St. Louis, 1968. And Don Wilson, Judy Wilson, they took me to his restaurant. And this is, you know, I first met him there, such a nice gentleman. And this was at his restaurant, it was the very first time I had fried ravioli. And it's been a favorite of mine ever since.
Oh, I'll be darned. How about that? Captain Redneck.
Yeah.
Redneck.
Yeah, we talked about this. You know, I first met him in Detroit, and the second time I met him, this is at a spot show outside of St. Louis. And, you know, as, you know, Dick says, you know, hey kid, you know, what are you doing here?
He have a chaw of tobacco. It looks like his cheek is a little puffed out.
I don't think
there.
he was that much of a redneck back then.
Well, yeah, maybe not then. Oh, classy Freddy Blassy.
Yes, the very first time Fred came in for Big Time Wrestling, this would have been 1969. You know, and oh God, I got Freddy Blassy stories, you know, from the time I met him here and the time I worked out in the office in L.A.
Yeah.
You know, and got to photograph him and run the beach with him in Santa Monica.
Yeah, you can tell you worked out, Dave. Look at those arms.
Yeah, well, look at those 8-inch guns.
Cool. Oh, there's the Mr. Muchnick.
This is when I would frequently go to St. Louis. This was, I believe this was 1970. And this is when I went to his office at the Clareton, I think it was the Clareton Hotel.
Clare Ridge?
Yeah, I'm forgetting right at this time because I'm seeing this picture for the first time in a long time.
He was the president of the National Wrestling Alliance for about 30 years.
Promoter of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And at this particular meeting I interviewed him for a story that I did in Wrestling Review.
I'll be darned. How about that?
Oh, my favorite girl wrestler of all time.
Oh, yeah?
This is one of the first times I met her, Betty Nicolai. Gorgeous. And a tough lady, boy.
Yeah.
You know,
were.
And her bouts against Kay Noble and so many others. You know, I'd always see her, you know, whenever I went to St. Louis and Kansas City, but she never worked Detroit.
No.
This is me and her, like almost 50 years later, when
Really?
we met at.
Wow, look at that, huh?
When we met up at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah? How about that? Cool. Oh, this is a
good-
guy who had a couple of different.
Yeah, this was
ring
in his
personas.
early, you know, years. Great bodybuilder from Hamilton, Ontario. My good friend Dewey Robertson,
Who later became.
the missing link.
Right, yeah, with the green face, had a little time in the WWE toward the end, and there he is again.
And there's when, you know, we met up again. This would have been at the Titans in Toronto get together, the very first one. And when I first, you know, approached him in the dressing room, you know, I told him, you know, who I was, and, you know, I don't know if it was the years of drugs or just, you know, the bumps, but he had no idea who I was. As much as I told him and my history and the times that we were together over the years, he just didn't remember.
Too many chair shots.
But then that night at the induction ceremonies, he came up to me, hugged me, and started crying because he finally remembered who I was.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Great guy.
Wow. Nice hair, Dave.
First time I let my hair grow long. You know.
Looks like a reverse comb over.
Yeah, this is outside the KPLR studios.
Nice pants. Look at those.
Come on.
Did you get those from a table at a restaurant?
It was the psychedelic years, my friend. The very first time I met Harley Race. And look how clean cut Harley Race was right there.
Was he world champion or was this pre-world champion?
No, way pre. This would have been 1969.
Oh my God, Dave, that is I would hide that picture. Oh, there's the brain, Eddie
Okay,
Kretschmann.
well, you want to talk about my pants or you want to talk about his jacket first? I could have wore both at the same time.
That's right.
This was 1973 when I was the chairman and host of the WFIA convention in Detroit. And Eddie Kretschmann, this was the Sheik's, actually the Sheik's trophy for Wrestler of the Year. And, you know, Eddie Kretschmann was there and, you know, I said, hey, how would you ever like to be Manager of the Year? And it's like, oh, no thanks.
I don't need no stinking trophy. Oh, the Flying Frenchman.
This would have been the following year, 1974. WFIA award for popular wrestler, outstanding wrestler, Edouard Carpentier.
Yeah, what a great athlete he was. Nice shirt, Dave.
Yeah, but look
Boy,
at the
I'll
hair.
tell you,
I finally
look
got
at
it
that.
cut, no comb over.
Hair's great. This shirt, though, wow. Ooh, Hans Schmidt with a smile?
Yes, he was awarded outstanding wrestler 1973.
Cool. Oh, there's Ben.
Back to 1974, outstanding wrestler, Ben Justice, beautiful Ben Justice.
Yeah.
Okay, this would be back into 1974 with beautiful Ben Justice, awarded outstanding wrestler. And the ironic thing about this is that this was in July, and only 2 months later, I became Ben Justice's manager.
Oh, I'll be darned. Isn't that something? Ooh, the man.
Yeah, Ric Flair. This would have been his first year in Charlotte, North Carolina. This was when I was living with Sonny King. And I had a WFIA trophy for outstanding wrestler for Ric Flair. Wow. And myself and Gene Gordon went over his house, and Rick, was gracious, very nice to me, and I've seen him many times over the years, and he always remembers this moment.
This is his house?
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive. Man, oh man. JV.
And back in 1973, another WFIA award, outstanding wrestler, Johnny Valentine. Okay, going back to 1973 again, this is a series of photos that from the WFIA awards that I was presenting to all the guys, Ben Justice and Johnny Valentine, and the one that Eddie Creechman didn't win. But this one, was the big one of the day, awarding the Sheik, his Wrestler of the Year trophy.
Excellent.
And he, allowed a photograph to be taken, because back then you don't take pictures with the Sheik like this and have them shown.
Right.
And he trusted me and knew that this picture would never be seen. And this is one of the first time wrestling fans are able to see this.
Cool. Yeah.
Another WFIA.
I recognize that guy.
WFIA convention I was at, and in Memphis, Tennessee, and I presented a plaque to Jerry Lawler.
Wow. There's the king again.
Yeah, this was in Knoxville, Tennessee, a few years later, presenting a plaque to Jerry the King Lawler.
Well, there's the king along with Jerry Lawler.
Right.
Yeah, right. Hey.
Oh, boy.
Is this the Sheraton?
The Sheraton Cadillac Hotel. As you came up the escalators, this was the wall, the mosaic wall.
Oh, yeah.
And basically the mosaic wall represented the city of Detroit. A lot of people didn't know that.
Oh, no,
a
I
lot
didn't
of out-of-towners coming in, they wouldn't understand it. But this is me and my good friend Tony Marino, probably before we went to
Greektown
for dinner.
Is he picking your pocket?
Yeah. Well, no, here's a guy who would pick your pocket, not for money, but to beat you any way he can. The NWA champion at that time, Dory Funk Jr.
Wow, classy.
Oh.
Is it Danny Hodge?
Yeah, one of the very first times I met Danny Hodge. I met him in Detroit here.
World's Juniors heavyweight champion,
Yeah, he held that title for many years.
Yeah.
And this was at one of the WFIA conventions, and, presenting the plaque to Danny Hodge.
Did he put the squeeze on you?
Oh, God. Yeah, if he put that squeeze on my head, boy, he could do that thing with the apple.
Yeah, and smash the apple.
If he put, my hand in my melon.
Oh, and there's Danny. Later
in the
years.
older years. This is at the Gulf Coast reunion that they had every year, and it was for wrestlers only. No fans allowed at this. This was in Mobile, Alabama. I went down with Irish Mickey Doyle, and there's just tons of stories I could tell on our trip there. But this is, the time that, my last time that I got to see Danny Hodge, and he remembered me, and what a great guy he was.
Yeah. From Houston, KPLR?
No,
the channel?
KPLR would have been St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
But this is Houston Wrestling.
Yeah.
And this is, Paul Bosch. Paul Bosch and my good friend Jim Melby.
Oh, yeah,
Jim Melby, who used to be the editor of Wrestling Review and Wrestling Monthly magazine.
Wow. This is an amazing collection. There he is.
Oh, my good friend, Handsome Jimmy. I first met Jimmy Valiant in 1966 at a fan convention put on in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, yeah?
I took a Trailways bus down to Cincinnati, for the weekend. And this was a few years later. This is when he came in for the Bruisers promotion. And what am I doing at the Olympia Stadium with Jimmy Valiant there without the Sheik knowing?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's for another tale
story
to tell.
Yeah, there we go. And look at that.
There's the Boogie Woogie Man now. Years later.
A little bit of a change, huh?
At CAC.
From that to this.
Yeah. Handsome Jimmy.
Liz.
Yeah, this was at a Cauliflower Alley Club in Vegas one year, and we reconnected, as we do all the time.
He just celebrated his, 79th birthday?
Yeah, and he had his final match last weekend.
79 years old.
Yep.
Imagine that. There he is.
Oh, boy, what a story this is. After a Keel show, Ox Baker and Dewey Robertson, who were, babyface and heel, shouldn't be seen together. This is at Don and Judy Wilson's house in St. Louis, Missouri. And they came over to have, drinks and dinner, with us. We provided a bunch of stuff for them. And, myself and Ox Baker, this would have been 1970.
Wow.
And years later, when I met up with Ox Baker, this would have been at the Alicia's house. Benefit that I did. It was a benefit golf tournament and banquet and things. And they also had things that people could bid on. But it was a golf tournament, and I donated my time, and I was one of the celebrities there, as was Ox Baker. And oh boy, did we have a conversation that day.
I'll bet you did. The champ. One of the champs.
Yeah, Nick Bockwinkel. The very first time I got to talk about, him and his early days coming into Detroit at the Olympia Stadium and talking about his dad. And, this would have been at the Houston, Texas WFIA convention.
Wow, that's something.
Olympia Stadium, this would have been the night that the Sheik went against Dick the Bruiser, and the Bear Man, Dave McKegney, had Gentle Ben the Bear there.
That was Gentleman Ben?
Yeah. So, you could see one of the Detroit Red Wings hockey nets in the back there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And old Ben was sleeping, so next to him was his muzzle that I have on his head, and I was going to give him an atomic elbow drop, and, but as they say, leave sleeping bears lie. 1970, Miami Beach. The first time I went down there, for wrestling card, and this would have been Gorgeous George Jr.
Oh, okay. Did he have a bear, too?
No, no bear.
Okay, no bear. All right.
You might be thinking of Tuffy Truesdale.
Yeah. Okay.
The time I went
that.
to Memphis, Tennessee, and was working with Jerry Lawler, and on the show that night was the very first time Andy Kaufman was going to go against Jerry Lawler in that famous match.
That is history. Look at that. Amazing. You got to put that up on eBay, man.
Why?
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Damn. How was he?
He was a little aloof,
Yeah.
a little strange, I would say. He was very nice to me, when he found out that I was managing the Sheik at the time and a manager of other guys around the territory in, Michigan and Ohio and Ontario, he was just flabbergasted, and he just wanted to talk wrestling. And that's all I wanted to talk about wrestling with him also.
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk about Taxi because he was Lotka at that time on that hit show. And, I watched it, but I didn't want to seem, starstruck and fan-struck.
Right.
So we talked wrestling.
Wow, amazing. Oh, no, there you
go. Yeah, this is at one of the Alicia's houses. I mentioned, the golf, charity tournaments that they did there. So I was one of the few celebrities that played golf. A lot of, wrestlers that appeared there didn't play golf. So we got Buddy Roberts, one of the Freebirds, standing there.
Oh, that's Buddy Roberts back there?
And Paul Christie, God bless his soul.
Paul Christie,
who recently passed.
Yeah.
And usually every year at the tournament, that I went to, I would become the human golf tee. And it's like, guys like Paul Christie, Meadowlark Lemon, Harley Race, Bunny Love, so many others. It was the thing. They were the ones that wanted to have their picture taken with me as the human golf tee.
Oh, my God. Uh-oh. You're giving him the side eye there, Dave.
Yeah. Well, because I was looking over my shoulder because this is at Olympia Stadium, where I shouldn't have been at the time.
Yeah.
But it was my good friend Bobby Heenan, and I had his wrestler or manager of the year trophy that I had to get to him.
Okay. Oh, and there's Bobby in later years.
And this is Bobby in later years, right after he had his first operation on his tongue. This is, pre when he got his major cancer. This here was at a show in Romulus, at some bar kind of thing. And Bobby was, that night in the ring signing autographs and stuff.
Oh.
And then, he came back to me and says, come on. And we went into a secluded area, and that's all we did was talk. That's all he wanted to do was talk,
Cool.
find out what I was doing and stuff.
How cool.
And the thing about this night is that many of the wrestlers that were on this show showed so much disrespect for Bobby Heenan.
Really?
Many of them didn't know who he was. They never heard of Bobby Heenan.
Well, this is an indie show of some type?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, I couldn't believe it. But, one of the best times and best friends I've ever had in the business. Okay, oh boy.
Look at that one.
Yeah.
That's from The Office, right?
That's from The Office.
Yeah.
When I was doing practice promos, and Sheik had me do a practice promo with Killer Brooks. And I did all the talking. He didn't say anything. And it's like, the most terrifying 2 minutes of my life.
Yeah,
and after the photograph was done, he was wanting to beat me up. And this is many years later where he didn't want to beat me up. Because here at this is when we reconnected. And I remember telling a story on how I pulled the rib on him, telling that he might have been my dad. And this was immediately following. So he still had a smile on his face.
Good old Killer Brooks.
Big Bill Anderson.
Oh, yeah, okay. He's one of our fans. He watches all our shows.
Yes, he does. Billy, this is, when he still lived in Detroit. Him and his parents moved to, I believe it was Chicago at some time, and he came back. This would have been 1973 or something, and he had aspirations of becoming a professional wrestler. And he knew that I wanted to be a manager. And we, together thought, maybe one day I could manage you. Never happened, but oh God, what a great friend.
Yeah, great guy.
And there's Big Bill, or Bigger Bill and Bigger Dave, many years later, and I'm holding up his books that he's written. If you look up Big Bill Anderson, please, he's got a number of great books for sale, and he's holding up mine, this Saturday night too, Return to the Kobo, my book.
Excellent, all right. Oh, here we go. Dave and Head.
Yep, that's the very first one with Bob Finnegan and, me in the Kiss makeup and the mannequin head. Al Snow, take a look at this. I did it first.
Yeah, 2 or 3 decades before Al Snow. Who's that guy?
Well, that's a young Terry Sullivan,
That would have been the guy who was making fun of somebody's clothes?
Yeah, look at that long hair. Oh, look at that long hair, too. And, oh, God, we had so much fun back then.
Yeah, we absolutely did.
This would have been my very first TV appearance. Yourself, and you see
Milt down
Ruskin,
there in the lower left,
doing the commentary, and there's the Destroyers, Ronnie Paul, and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Mark Starr?
Yes, Mark Starr.
Yeah.
God dang it, thank you, Terry.
Ricky Starr's brother.
Yeah, and that stupid trophy I had to carry around as them as tag team champions. Couldn't wait for them to lose that darn thing.
Hartford Love.
Yeah, for Superstars of Wrestling. God, first time I got to manage Hartford Love. Boy, what a thrill.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also, at the same time, got to manage Eric the Red. Great guy. Ib Henson was his name. What a great talent, great guy. A lot of fun to manage both of them.
Yeah.
And there I am with, Eric and that bone.
Yeah.
Oh, the stories I could tell about that bone. I'll have to relate a story one day on Ashwegan, Ontario, when that bone played a big part in starting a whole riot.
Right.
I'll have to tell that story one day.
Speaking of kangaroos.
One of the final in the inclinations of the Kangaroos. Al Costello and Mickey Doyle had so much fun managing them.
Yeah. Well, there we are.
There we are in the dressing room.
Wow, excellent. Blackjack Luca.
One of the first guys I got to manage.
What a great guy. He disappeared off the face of the earth, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a police officer in Westland.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And, he did that as his day job, wrestled, at night, and I got to manage him. A great guy, very nice, and
really
one
good
heck of a
guy.
heel.
Yeah.
One of my first
There we
appearances on George Cannon's Superstars of Wrestling, and I'm managing the Patriot.
Who's the Patriot? Do you remember?
I don't remember his name, but it wasn't the one that was in WWE.
Right, Del Wilkes.
Del Wilkes.
Yeah,
It wasn't Del
okay.
Wilkes.
Uh-oh.
The greatest thrill of my life, in my wrestling life anyway, getting to manage the Sheik. What a thrill.
Whoops. There we are again.
And there I am again with him, with one of my other outfits. Oh, God, that red satin. It doesn't fit me anymore, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, all right.
There I am in the ring with the Sheik after one of the bouts that we won, and you can see he's bloody. And I think Handsome John, John McFarland, Brad McFarland took this one.
Oh,
Handsome
okay.
Johnny Bradford as a manager.
Okay.
Another one, me and the Sheik, and it's like,
oh, look at that, Ernie.
yeah, how can you outdo? I brought the one jacket I knew that I can outdo Ernie, but I still couldn't outdo Ernie.
That's Ernie Roth, Abdullah Farouk, the Weasel, the Grand Wizard of Wrestling.
At this time, he was the Grand Wizard because this photograph was taken in Boston, I believe in 1975, and that's when Ernie became one of the promoters there.
Okay, great. Oh, Lance Russell.
Lance Russell. This
Dave Brown in the background.
Yeah, this is
Look
when
at
I got
that.
interviewed on Memphis TV.
Wow.
I was hoping to, get a gig there, but they weren't really doing stuff with managers at the time, and this was at the big time of the Lawler, Andy Kaufman feud. And thank God, I didn't take it because it made way for my good friend Jim Cornette to take my spot.
Oh, sweet man.
Sweet man.
Daddy.
Yes, Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe, which I re-nicknamed him Heavy Metal Malcolm Monroe when we did this whole rock and roll thing. And, and this is sort of rare because at this point in time, he still had black hair. Because at the time, there was another time, you remember he dyed his hair blonde.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure on this one, but, I remember, when I wore this outfit, oh, God, the fans started calling me Rainbow Bright. It was like, there was this girl or something, and they had the pin things that you could put in, and somehow I was nicknamed Rainbow Bright.
Yeah.
But look at Malcolm, the son of a gun, he's got his hand either on my butt or trying to get it in my wallet.
Getting ready there, getting ready.
Another promotional picture when we worked at the Premier Center in Sterling Heights, Michigan.
Okay.
This is when, now he's got his blonde hair.
Yeah.
And this is us cutting a commercial for the Premier Center. They liked me and Malcolm so much. The Premier Center was this place that, all the greats played. I mean, Frank Sinatra played there, Liza Minnelli, so many,
Bruiser Bedlam.
Yes, Bruiser Bedlam of all things. But the people that owned the Premier Center were a little notorious for being, I don't know how to put it, and I don't want to put it, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Moving right along.
Yeah, but they loved me and Malcolm so much that they let us do a commercial for them.
All right.
Oh, the Motor City
that.
Hitmen.
Okay.
Al Snow, and Mickey Doyle.
Wow, look at that. How about that, huh? Excellent. There's another shot.
Another shot. Young Al Snow.
No, they were, which team, what did they call themselves then?
The Motor City Hitmen.
Oh, okay. When did they become the Sensationals?
After this.
Okay.
After I, gave up on them and, gave their, they went on separate ways. They could never be champions again, like when I managed them.
Yeah, is that an Aerosmith shirt you got on there?
It's an Aerosmith shirt from, I forget the exact title of that
Draw the
album.
Lines?
Draw the Lines, there
Yeah,
you go.
was it?
And that
Okay.
shirt, the pants and stuff, everything that I'm wearing there, minus the jacket, which is in the dressing room, that's in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. How about that?
And there we are years
yeah,
later
okay.
when Al, Mickey, and I were all inducted into the Midwest Championship Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Excellent.
And this is us many
Cobo.
years later
Yeah.
at Cobo when Malcolm Monroe Jr., the DBA, was the first person of color to run a show, wrestling show, at Cobo Arena. And this is me, Mickey, and Al together again.
Yeah, the return to Cobo. That was a great day. Oh, now there's a classic picture for you.
Oh, myself, John Tolis, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Reggie Love at one of the CACs back in the early 2000s.
Wow, isn't that something?
When we had our WFIA convention in Indianapolis, Sam Muchnick flew in for it because he was a big fan of our organization.
Oh, yeah?
And I had a rental car, and Sam was at our hotel, and he wanted to know if he could drive me over to the Bruiser's house. So we drove over to the Bruiser's house, and the Bruiser was in the pool naked, so hence the...
Naked?
Yeah, hence the towel.
Oh, my
and you see the ladder there,
Yeah.
because at the same time, he had his son-in-law, Spike Huber, up on the roof, doing some repair work.
He didn't throw you in the pool and try to drown you, did he?
No.
No such luck.
Oh, my
Les
great
Thatcher.
Yeah, my great
Yeah.
friend Les Thatcher. This
All
would have been in
right.
Indianapolis also that same night, where I'm presenting him with a outstanding wrestler trophy.
Excellent. Oh, wow.
Oh, many times that I've met Lou Thez, and what a great NWA champion he was, and he was
Yeah.
a big fan of our WFIA organization. Came every time he could if he was near. Showed up.
What a guy. What a man. There's Dick the Bruiser.
Yeah, Dick
with
the
his
Bruiser.
clothes on.
Yeah, with his Sunday whites.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got the big trophy for him, which thank God I didn't have to carry around too long because he was presented the Wrestler of the Year.
All right. Oh, there he is.
Oh, my good friend Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
I remember in Kansas City, 1976, I was awarded Manager of the Year, and he was a fan taking pictures there. And me and him got to talking, and I said, Jim, you would never know the feeling of going out and performing in front of fans. And he says, one day I'm going to do it. And boy, did he. One of the greatest managers of all time.
Absolutely.
1973, Promoter of the Year.
Yeah, I remember that
Francis
one.
Fleischer.
Yeah.
I just wonder that did he give the Sheik this trophy, because Sheik was really a promoter. He was only a figurehead.
I'm sure he
this
did.
Is the Sheik's father-in-law.
I'm sure he did give it to the Sheik. The Baron.
Oh.
Da Baron.
Atlanta, Georgia, at our WFIA convention there. We got to talk about his early days of working, big time wrestling, 66,
yeah.
67.
Right.
And he, said that the Sheik really gave him his first big opportunity.
Yeah.
And, the Baron, the Claw. And,
He was great.
For this picture, like the Baron would say, Dave, that's all they need to know.
TB.
Tully Blanchard,
Yeah.
Another convention in Houston. Got to meet him. This is way before he made it big with becoming one of the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Cowboy Frankie Lane.
Frankie Lane.
One of the most underrated talents in the history of professional wrestling.
Agreed.
Underrated talent, underappreciated. He did work some main events in some territories, but he had his demons and he was hard to work with promoters, but what a great guy.
Yeah. Okay, that's the end of that one. Which one was that? Number 4. So now we'll go back to number 5.
Are we boring you guys yet?
Barely. All righty. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Let me guess. This was 1982.
It was. How did you guess that? You're looking at, oh, you cheated looking at the trophy.
Yeah.
Indianapolis, Indiana, presenting Bobo Brazil with Outstanding Wrestler Trophy.
Wow. Oh, my, look at that one.
Yeah, this would have been the second Ron Martinelli, Louis Martinez promotion. The second show that they ran at the Fraser Hockey Land. No, this was at the Fraser High School. And this is myself, Blackjack Luca, the Mad Iranian, and Handsome Gary, he called himself, but, you know, photographer extraordinaire for Big Time Wrestling after I left, Gary Kamensak.
What a great shot.
This is Malcolm Monroe and myself when Malcolm was running shows at the Hamtramck High School. You know, ran a number of shows there, and they had a cable TV crew that came and filmed it. And they liked me and Malcolm, and this Bob Swerdnevich is the announcer there, and he had a weekly show, Hamtramck Sports Talk, and we appeared on his show a number of times. Yeah. And oh God, the times we destroyed his set, the time I got him so upset on, you know, going into the studio. We're going to have to show a clip of that at some point.
Okay. There's your buddy.
Yeah, George the Animal Steel.
Yeah.
This is at the very first Titans in Toronto reunion. That George had a lot to do with, and, you know, great guy.
Yeah.
This would have been at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremonies where myself, J.J. Dillon, and the great superstar Billy Graham met up.
That around the time he painted the picture for you?
No, that was years later.
Oh. We'll have to get a look at that picture one of these days.
Yeah.
Handsome Jimmy Valiant.
Handsome Jim. Well, this would have been in his boogie woogie years.
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
Oh, TF, Dory Funk. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. This was at a CAC in Vegas some years ago. And here, let's go back to that for 1 second. I had done a photograph when I was working at the office in LA. Terry Funk and Victor Rivera had a big grudge match there. And I took a bunch of shots. And I put together a photo album for Terry of all the photographs that I took of that match. And he appreciated that. And he goes, oh, wait, Detroit, did you know my uncle, Jack Kane? And then we started talking about, you know, Jack Kane being the booker in Detroit. And then when we started our UWA promotion, and, you know, and we just talked for the longest time. Great guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, one of the best.
Abdullah the Butcher.
Abby.
This is like at one of the local shows that he appeared on. And first time I seen him in many years. And at this, you know, time that I met him, you know, he, you know, sort of didn't want to talk to anybody. And I told him who I was, and I told him, you know, about Sheik and working for him. I says, I remember when you were Zalis Armara. And he's like, oh, geez. And I said, there's a time that I met you at the bus station in Detroit, you know, and I have the photograph. And I showed him the photograph, and he goes, and now he warmed up to me. And he told me the story of why he would take a bus to a lot of the towns. He would come over from Windsor, across on the tunnel bus, and go to the, you know, bus station and go to shows that way, because he had a brand new Cadillac. And if boys knew that, you know, he was driving somewhere, they'd want to drive with him. And especially guys like Dr. Jerry Graham, Abby wouldn't want him in his car.
Yeah, no thank you.
Oh, there's the Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy,
and
the missing link, Dewey Robertson, holding up each of their books.
Oh, wow, yeah. I'll be darned.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
you know,
there
there's a time that, you know, when we get to our, you know, dressing room confidentials, I have so many tales to tell about Don Fargo that, you know, fans, you and fans will be, you know, horrified at the things that he used to do.
Hey, I've read Scott Teal's book. I think,
and some of the stories that are in that book came from me that, you know, I reminded Don Fargo about. But it's Don Fargo and, you know, Paul Christie and myself.
Yeah.
Oh, my good friend Bruce Swayze.
Okay,
you know, great guy, great to be around. another product of the Hamilton, factory, from Hamilton, Ontario. Worked a number of shows for Pedro Martinez and Buffalo and Cleveland and that whole area. Very rarely, did he ever come to Detroit. I can't remember a time or two that he might have been here, but a great guy.
Still around.
Yes. Rotten Reggie Love, one of the Love brothers, one of my number 2 favorite tag team of all time.
And there he is with Mr. Swayze, who was manager for them, right?
Right, and he was like known as the third Love brother.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Death?
Dr. Death. Steve Williams.
Look at you, Dave. Friend of the Stars.
We were at the Alicia's house, charity thing, and we'd go to an ice cream palace outside the city that was owned by one of the top DJs in Chicago, rock radio at the time, and he was known as the Turd. That was his name, and him and his wife had this shop, and they always hosted us, before our festivities every night.
Huh.
There's again, where I met up with Doc at, CAC, in Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, oh God, this would have been at a Titans in Toronto. First time I've seen this gal in many, many years. Rachel Dubois.
The Bearman's
daughter.
Dave McKigney's daughter. Oh, I'll be darned.
And, one of the unknown squeezes in the territory for Bob Finnegan at the time.
Oops.
Yep. Milt the Bruskin.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Great guy, former announcer with yourself and with George Cannon on Superstars of Wrestling. And this is the man who nicknamed me Supermouth.
Okay, there you go.
And this is another, Titans in Toronto years later where our good friend Andrea, took pictures of all the boys and stuff. And, Milt had this idea, hey, Supermouth, give me the pose. And it's like, there we are.
Sort of looks like Jerry Lewis, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Now, who in the world is this?
Chris Masters.
Oh, yeah? The muscle guy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
Chris Medeski, another Polish guy. We hit it off because we're both Polish.
Yeah.
And we met at a Titans, festivity there. And he sat next to me. We got to talking and became, fast friends that day.
Good for you.
Willie Farkas, the wild man, or the wolf man. Yeah, what a great guy.
Yeah.
Talk to him, couldn't understand a word he said.
Right. But he main evented at Madison Square Garden, had a series of matches with Bruno.
Yep.
Just a great, great guy. And here we go. Oh, the man they just did the big documentary on.
Yeah, what a great documentary that was. Sir. My only knock on that is they had some nauseating music playing over when the guys were talking. But there it is, the sweet man, Sweet Daddy Siki.
Yeah, one of the greats.
Now,
I do. Yeah, Johnny Powers.
Johnny Powers. We were at a Titans event in Toronto. He owns a farm outside in near Hamilton, I believe. Gotten up in years, a little bit changed. Bald now. I remember him having the curly hair, and then at the time having the toupee on, and don't touch my hair kind of thing. And now I could touch his hair.
He's still alive, isn't he?
He still is alive. There's myself, Johnny Powers, and Bruce Swayze, having a good time, before the festivities.
Boy, I would never be able to say that was Johnny Powers if I didn't know. Amazing. Hey, another manager.
Yeah, me and Jimmy Hart. First met Jimmy Hart many years ago down in Memphis. Stayed in touch with each other. He came in for a show here, and we reconnected. I gave him a bunch of photographs of that I had of him and Jerry Lawler and guys back in the days when I was taking photographs. Great guy.
Yeah. Oh, Uncle Ivan.
WWF champion, beat Bruno Sammartino. Met up with him at Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremonies. Great guy.
Look at that hair, Dave. What's the story with that hair of
that's
yours?
my Ivan Koloff look. Or are you talking about my blonde hair?
It looks, yeah, I was going to say it looks a little blonde.
Yeah, I did a little dye job at one point.
Cool. Oh, there
Well,
we go.
know the sad story about this is when my good friend Rich Tito in Chicago, found Louis Martinez, and one of my times down there to the Alicia's house event, I just had to go and visit him at the California Gardens nursing home, and this is the last known picture of Louis Martinez before he passed.
How old was he there?
In his 80s, could have been 90s. Nobody really knew.
Oh, that's right. He didn't know when he was born.
Yeah.
Wow. There's another
T-Bolt.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, T-Bolt. Another great big-time wrestling favorite.
Thunderbolt Patterson.
Yeah, this is, when we reconnected at the
Cobo.
2017 Cobo, where I first met and reconnected with you after 40-some years.
Didn't recognize me, but we'll talk about that later. The Sarge.
Yeah, Sarge.
Cool.
Showing me his Hall of Fame ring.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
And so Sarge goes, "Okay, maggot, get down and give me 20. And I go, "Dollars, sir?" Oh, now this is at a Comic-Con, and I was doing a promotion thing, for the Sheik, and Dawn Wells come up to me.
From Gilligan's Island?
From Gilligan's Island.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And knew, who I was.
Really?
And that I managed the Sheik, and she was a closet wrestling
I
fan.
mean, they had TV on Gilligan's Island, too? Never mind.
I don't think the professor, found out how to do that quite well.
Okay. Oh, one of the all-time legends.
Yeah. Killer Kowalski, this is like one of the last times he made appearances at CAC, and I related stories to him that when I was a child, he was my uncle's brother-in-law. So he really wasn't a relative of mine, but every Christmas he would come over from Windsor to my uncle's house in, it was a suburb of Detroit. I can't think of in Warren, in Warren, Michigan, and he would always be there when I was a kid, and we'd always have a big Polish fest, and when I relayed that to him, he just remembered those as great times.
Wow. I don't recognize that guy.
That's not a wrestler.
Oh, okay.
It's the great Meadowlark Lemon.
No.
Yes,
Oh,
from
be
the Harlem Globetrotters. He was a special guest at the Alicia's house ceremonies and banquet in Chicago, suburban Chicago, and staying at the same hotel. He asked if I wanted to go to down for breakfast. Or I asked him, you want to go down for breakfast? And he goes, "No, Dave, you got a car? Let's go eat some good breakfast, because I don't, go to these hotel things and eat sugar and cardboard." And ever since then, that's what I think of when I stay at these, local hotels, and they give you this junk for breakfast, sugar and cardboard. Oh, God.
I don't recognize this guy either.
My great guy, old wrestling friend, mainly worked in L.A., Scott Schwartz.
Don't know him.
He didn't work here. Mainly we worked on the West Coast and East Coast. He was a trainee of Killer Kowalski.
Oh.
But met him at Alicia's house, and we became good friends, and we talk to this day. And you may know Scott Schwartz from the Ocean's 11 movies. No. Remember in Ocean's 11, Danny Ocean was put into a room, by the casino owner because he was trying to rip him off or something. And he gets in this room, and there's Scott. He was called Bruiser.
Oh.
And Bruiser was supposed to beat him up, George Clooney.
Oh, okay.
But instead, they knew each other. So this is in the movie. They knew each other. So Scott would, hit, something, a
Polish
prop,
punches,
not hit, George Clooney, and boom, boom. So the goons outside the door thought Clooney was getting his butt kicked, but that's the actor Scott Schwartz, and he was in all the Ocean's movies.
Okay. Oh, wow!
Now
look
this
at that
is
one.
this is a rare one. Myself, J.J. Dillon, Gary Hart, and Ken Ramey.
Oh, Dr. Ken Ramey.
Dr. Ken Ramey, who managed so many guys in tag teams down south.
Yeah.
J.J. Dillon, of course, the Four Horsemen. Gary Hart, of course.
Doesn't he look like an honest fellow, though?
Which one?
Gary
Me?
Hart.
Yeah, he was a great guy. When we, just before we took this picture, I related a story to Gary Hart. I used to come down to Cobo early. Wait for guys to get autographs.
Right.
So I was there about 5 o'clock, way before guys would be coming in. And I happened to notice down by the Detroit River, Gary Hart was standing there. Handsome Gary Hart, or Playboy Gary Hart.
Yeah.
When he had the blonde hair and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was just watching the world go by, watching the river and looking across into Windsor. And I was a young kid, probably, 12, 11 years old. And I went up to him and I asked for his autograph. And he, blew me off. Did the kayfabe thing. Hey, kid, get out of here. And I related that story to him. And he goes, would I do something like that? And I go, yeah, back in that day you would.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, here we go.
This would have been in Windsor, Ontario, at one of the Scott D'Amore shows. And that's Gary Waronczyk, promoter, who did a lot of wrestling shows in Michigan. And hopefully the next mayor of Dearborn, Denny Cass. One of the Kangaroos.
The kangaroo emblem,
Yep, Denny Cass, God bless his soul. He passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
Myself, Mickey Doyle, and I'm going to have to Coach Kurt.
Oh.
He had the big
hotline
call-in kind of thing. And I think this was 2003, which would have been probably the first or second retirement match Mickey Doyle had.
Oh, Rhino.
Myself and Rhino at one of the shows. Young guy then.
Yeah. That's not Kamala, is it?
No. This is Khan. Killer Khan, I think it was, or it wasn't Budokan.
Budokan.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick played there. That's
no, this
arena in
I have to
Japan.
credit Rudy Hill for this, Rude Boy.
Yeah.
Because I haven't managed in over 25 years. And he called me up. He said he's promoting a show, and he's got this guy that needs a manager. And it's it's a charity show, and he wondered if I would come out of retirement.
Wow.
And for Rudy, I did. I didn't get no payoff or anything. I'd come up with this, look and gimmick. And the gimmick I had, I don't know if I have another picture coming up or not, but this is what I wore, and what I'll relate this story. I wore this outfit, and then I wore one black shoe and one white shoe.
Oh, yeah?
And, just because, it's something different.
Yeah.
So some of the guys, the boys in the back, they're looking at me and going, do you know you got two different shoes on? And I go, well, ironically, I've got a pair at home just like it.
Yeah.
But, there was a little, laughing at me and, remarks being made. And I happened to hear one. And I went up to the guy and respectfully said, when you go out there and do your match and these fans go home, they're not going to talk about one move that you did. But what they're going to talk about, that manager that came out, do you remember the shoes? He had a black shoe and a white shoe. That's what they remembered.
There you go.
A.T. Huck, one of the greatest referees in the history of professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
I mean, you talk about Bulldog Al Thomas, which is my favorite, Tommy Young, A.T. Huck.
Yeah.
Great guy.
ECW original.
Let's see if you remember this guy.
I do not.
When I first saw him, I didn't recognize him either. But I brought him in for an interview at one point, and it's Ron Martinelli.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll be darned.
Great guy.
Yeah. Rude Boy.
Myself and Rudy. The two books, that Brian Bucantis, great editor, great friend, great photographer, he did the Stranglehold book, and then he was the editor and publisher of, my book, this Saturday night too, Return to the Cobo.
Look at that. Rudy's got his championship on there. He's styling, man.
And, like I said, I didn't want to manage anymore. I did con, I think I managed him twice. And then it came a time when Rude Boy, was going to have his retirement match. You know, this was going to be his last match. And he called me up and said, would you do me the honor of being my manager?
Oh, be darned.
So I'm forever grateful to Rudy,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
not
cool.
only for producing this show that, you know, we're on,
Yeah.
but also for letting me manage him in his last match.
Yeah. Okay. Oh boy, a bunch of people here. I see Big Jim Lancaster there, Al Snow. There's our buddy Igor Zakhoff or Sam Cody. Yeah.
Roger Ruffin.
Oh, and there's Mickey.
There's Mickey Doyle.
Where's Roger?
The Flying Tigers. Rick O'Toole in the background.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And Al Friend and back. And myself. This was at the Hall of Fame ceremonies for Midwest Championship Wrestling, Jim Lancaster's promotion.
I'll be darned. That's great. Oh, I remember this day.
Yeah, this was at the Token Lounge in Westland. This was the International Championship Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremonies where Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., Mickey Doyle, Gary Waronczyk, myself, and A.T. Huck were presented and inducted into the Hall of Fame.
And I got the honor of presenting Dr. Jerry Graham, inducting him.
You know, and I thank Mark Boone, the Mod Father, for inducting me.
Yeah, the IB Dub Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, it's from the same day.
From the same day.
There's the manager corps.
Yeah, Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., the Mod Father, Handsome Johnny Bradford, and Ugly Dave
The
Drayson.
other guy. There we go.
Yeah, Violent J from ICP talking to me and presenting my award and talking to me about when him, you know, ICP were very young and before they got into wrestling, they were fans. And, you know, they telling me, relating stories about, you know, when I was, you know, doing my thing with so many guys around town, especially Malcolm Monroe.
Yeah. The Soul Taker.
Soul Taker.
Yeah.
Don't want to mention his real name, you know, because people will be looking him up, asking for dates, asking for money, you know. But another great guy.
Yeah. Bobo Jr.
Bobo Jr. We rekindled at a show. I think this was at the L Club, you know, in Detroit. And, you know, because he wrestled as Calypso Jim.
Calypso Jim and the Bruiser Bedlam Days, sure.
Right. And then he became Bobo Brazil Jr. And I had at this thing related stories that, hey, I used to kick your dad's behind with, you know, the Sheik and so many other guys that I used to manage.
Wow.
And that, you know, fist came up, and next thing I know, he cocoa butted me.
Oh, yeah? All right.
Here we are, and
Back
we're
at Cobo.
myself, Brian Buchanan, Jim Cornette, Gary Mancuso, and
Leonard
Brand,
Yeah.
who came to take pictures.
Photographer extraordinaire.
And we're all doing the ear thing because I had mentioned, you know, Eddie Farhad Jr., hey, the captain, he's yelling through the doors, you can't run a show in my dad's house. You know, so we were just listening to the echoes of the captain.
Oh, here we go.
Myself and Truth Martini.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to ask RoX-TV, whatever happened to all the footage of the show, Dave Drayson's wine cellar?
I don't know. Too hot for television.
It might have been.
You think? Uh-oh. Look at it. Here we go.
After 40-some years.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember, you know, we took this picture and you came up to me and said hi. And it's like, I thought you were a fan, or I didn't know who you were.
You were talking to Cornette. You're going to blow me off.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to blow you off.
Yeah,
but,
you
know,
were.
I'm always
so
gracious.
Get out of here, you jabroni.
And then it's like, you know, I just didn't recognize you. And you said, Terry Sullivan. It's like, oh my God, I felt so embarrassed. But it's good to rekindle our friendship after all these years and to be able to do these shows.
Who'd have ever thought that 3 or 4 years later, there we are.
Dave Drayson's wine cellar.
Yeah, that's dinner for you, right?
Yeah, a starter anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, here we are when we were taping one of our shows, and Chris Carter came in, and he wanted a photograph with myself and yourself, but, you know, Rudy Hill happened to, you know, get in there somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to thank my good friend Gary Roll, one of the original photographers for Big Time Wrestling, who lived up in Bay City. And when the DBA, Malcolm Monroe Jr., redid a replica belt of the Sheik's original title belt that he used for his promotion, and he did this photograph for me with the Sheik, with his original belt, and myself with the replica.
Is that the picture that was in the box office at Cobo?
No.
Okay. Wow, interesting. Uh-oh, look at that guy.
Now, well, you see Bulldog Al Thomas.
Yeah.
There's Rick Bolton, and this was the second Sheik that I ever managed. His name was Sheik Ali, and he was out of Ontario, and he came into a show in Port Huron, and I was supposed to manage somebody else that night, and they wanted me to, manage him in the main event. And here I am, one of my famous flying moves off the top rope, to where I would fly off, Rick Bolton would duck, I would hit Sheik Ali, Ali would go down, I would lay on top of him, Rick Bolton would jump on top of both of us and pin us and get the 1, 2, 3.
There you go, crime doesn't pay.
And here another Andrea Kellaway, probably my favorite photograph of me of all time. Being the Supermouth, pointing, everybody says every photograph I do, I'm pointing at people. I thank her, just a gem of a photo.
Well, this has been a gem of a show. I got to tell you, this has been just excellent. I am so jealous of all the places you've been, and mostly all of the wrestlers that I've only heard about that you've not only met but had pictures with.
Well, this is just a small smattering. I had to go through easily over 1,000 photographs to whittle it down to how many we have here, a little over 100. And at some point in time, if you fans like what you're seeing here, leave a comment. And if you'd like, I'll do another segment with photographs that guys that you haven't seen here.
I think we ought to plan on it.
Oh, I got to tell you about these books too. Any of the photographs that you see in here can be bought in this book, which we mentioned before. This Saturday night, Return to the Cobo 2. You can go to the website, WrestlePrints.com, to order your copy. A lot of great photographs in here, 244 pages. And also, I got to say, if you're a fan, and we do our research and stuff for our shows here, this book here, the Wrestling Record Book for Detroit, for 1964 to 1980. It's the history of big time wrestling, and not only Cobo Arena, but it's all the results from shows in Toronto, Canton, Akron, Cincinnati, the whole territory. All the results are in this book, including, never before seen photographs that I took that I gave, the editor and publisher, Mark James. You can go to his website. I believe it's Memphis Wrestling History. We'll throw it up on the screen for you, wrestling fans. But it's a great book if you want to learn about the history and the results of the big time wrestling territory.
Okay. That's about all the time we've got for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Big Time Memories.
I'm really proud to say that I'm a part of IBW.
I take pride in IBW that we are a family-run company.
It's a fight. It's a sport. IBW tradition has always mattered.
You're going to see world-class professional big-time wrestling at its best.
This ain't no sports entertainment. This is professional wrestling.
International Big Time Wrestling's The Fix. Each and every week, your fix of IBW action. You want entertainment? Look no further than RoX-TV. International Big Time Wrestling!
Wrestling fans, if you like what you've seen, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also don't forget to ring that bell.